Hello and welcome to the Where Do We Begin podcast. I am an ex-VFA footballing guru, part-time cricketer, sometime basketballer and big-time sledger, and very tough in the quizzes. I am Merv Hughes.
Thanks for that, Merv, and hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Where Do We Begin. It is a big one. My name's Harper, my co-host is Lockie. How are you on this splendid day, Lockie?
I'm awesome, thanks, Harps. How are you?
Oh, mate, I'm absolutely pumped to be bringing all our listeners the first episode of Season 2. We are beyond excited for you guys to hear this one. Season 2 has been something we've been working on behind the scenes for quite a few months now, and yeah, we're super proud to be releasing the episodes now on this Monday, March the 1st. And yeah, it should be good.
And if you like what you hear, you can support us further by following us on social media. So you can find us on Instagram and Twitter at WDWBpod. And you can also find us on Facebook at Where Do We Begin. And we also have a YouTube channel. We have a lot of great content on there, and it'd be awesome to, interact with as many of our listeners as possible. So yeah, that'd be awesome. Thanks so much.
Yeah, we do love a bit of fan interaction. Been getting some feedback recently. It's really good to get that. So if you want to give us more feedback or even give us a review wherever you get your podcast, that would be much appreciated. And as our new little catchphrase grows, subscribe, share and support. If you can get around those three words, you'll be getting around us. So that would be heavily appreciated, if that even makes sense. But anyway, we'll get into our guest. You already know who it is, and he probably wouldn't need much of an introduction anyway. He's one of the most famous cricketers of all time. So should we just go straight into it, Lockie?
Let's dive in.
Okay, and our guest today, it's our first ever person from this particular sport. You might know him from his 95 Werribee VFA games, or his fishing show, or even his ads for the Manshake, or maybe even his 53 tests and 212 wickets for the Australian national cricket team. And between us organising this and now, he's now been inducted as a member of the Australian Cricket Hall of Fame. And I'd say he's probably the best Mervyn we'll ever have on the podcast. And I'm delighted to welcome onto the show Merv Hughes. How are you, mate?
Lockie, how are you boys? All right?
I'm great, Merv. It's an absolute honour to have you on, and hopefully have a good chat and share a few laughs, a few tears, and plenty of smiles along the way.
We'll see how we go.
Exactly. So, mate, we usually kick things off with a bit of a basic question, just checking in, I guess. How you going, mate? How's your start to 2021 been?
Yeah, it's been good. Hope it's nothing like 2020, to be honest. Obviously a bit of a rough year this year, last year, and then this year just started to coast in it. So family had a month down at Apollo Bay. We get down there. Most school holidays, although the kids aren't at school anymore, so it seems to defeat the purpose a bit. But we still get down there, spend the month down there, and just came back up at the start of the month, and just starting to get back into it, to be honest.
Yeah, beautiful. What did you get up there? We're talking off air, a little bit of fishing?
No, not much fishing, to be honest. I was on holiday. So I fish for work now. Just pretty quiet. Went fishing a couple of times. But yeah, just lazing around, bit of beach stuff, just catching up with people down there. So just on the coffee circuit, seems to go all right. Beer circuit seems to work pretty well in the afternoon.
Got any recommendations down there that we should check out?
What, fishing or coffee or beer?
Beer.
There's two pubs. You got a choice for the top pub or the middle pub. And the top pub is at obviously top end of town, so there's not three pubs there. And that's more your afternoon drink, have a bit of a punt, got the TAB. And then the middle pub is more your family evening mealtime pub. And if you're in there looking for a coffee in the morning, just 153, Cafe 153, opposite the post office. Good places to go.
Great little bit of local knowledge there. And also, I hope you were watching a little bit of the cricket while up there?
I watched a lot of the cricket, to be honest. So the Melbourne Test match, we got down after that. So what's the Sydney Test match and the Brisbane Test match, and saw fair chunks of it. So to be fair, the weather wasn't fantastic over January. So when it gets a little bit cool, I don't wander down the beach. Tend to sit home, and when the cricket's on, there's a good excuse to sit at home and watch TV.
Yeah, I've got to say, I was listening to ABC Radio a lot for the Melbourne Test match. Your commentary was really good, like really, really good. It was noticeably, you were the standout guy for me.
You sound surprised.
I hadn't listened to you commentate before. I was like, geez, this guy Merv Hughes. Well, obviously I'd heard of you, but Merv Hughes, this is a bloody good commentator. I was telling Dad that, telling everyone that. Raving about you.
No, it was an interesting one because I haven't done a lot of commentary work and did some work through October, November when the Sheffield Shield was in the hub. So I did a bit of online commentary there, and then when I got asked to do it with the ABC, jumped at the opportunity. So to get in there, really good crew, and it was a fantastic test match, albeit the result. Obviously, India got over the line, but to be part of that was fantastic. And so I don't know too much about a lot, but I reckon I know a little bit about cricket, so I feel comfortable sort of talking about cricket.
Yeah, I'd agree with you there. I'd say you know a little bit about cricket. But yeah, it's interesting though, because I feel like commentary, like I feel like sitting at home, sometimes you think like you listen to people on the TV, you feel like you can do that. But then since doing this podcast, you realise how actually difficult it is talking, thinking on the feet, and people that are listening, they'll like every little mistake they'll pick up on and then they'll talk it up. And you have to be just so perfect each and every time. So I feel like until you do it, you don't really appreciate how difficult it actually is.
Pardon the pun, but compared to TV, radio is a whole different kettle of fish. So it's...
without doubt, you're right there, and I mean that's what people thrive on, you making a mistake and then handle it. So I think whether you do TV or radio, you can't be too precious. If you make a mistake, you're almost better just owning up to it and people accept it. But if you try and skip over it, people dive all over you. But mate, I'm not that precious, so any feedback's good, whether it be positive or negative or people getting into me because I didn't know what was going on. Fair enough, open slather, I reckon.
Yeah, is that just what you do to make your money now? Just doing media stuff, your fishing show, bit of commentary here and there, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, do a lot of promotional PR work, so corporate work, sports nights for footy clubs, cricket clubs, the like, and then whatever comes up. So a lot of corporate work, which is might be out to a conference and just being a guest speaker at a conference or whatever. So yeah, basically whatever comes up. But still keep the finger on the pulse with the cricket. I'd like to have a little bit more involvement there, but apparently when you turn 50, you lose your marbles and you're not wanted anymore.
Well, I definitely don't think you've lost your marbles, Merv, and I'm not just saying that because I'm an arm's reach away from you.
I was remaining silent, man.
I don't think I had too many marbles to start with, to be honest, so very hard to lose them.
But before you were a commentator, you were a budding footballer and cricketer. Now tell us a little bit, were you a footballer first, cricketer first, or was it a little bit of both?
Well, to be honest, as a 16, 17-year-old, playing in, you boys wouldn't remember the old VFA, so that's now the VFL. So played out at Werribee. So year 11 now, I think it's Form 5 when I was at school. My last year I got into the seniors of VFA and I was playing there. So you're sort of hopeful that the football goes a little bit further and got invited down to Geelong. So it's not the draft as it is today. Basically it was a zoning, so where you live tied you to a club. Living in Werribee tied to Geelong, got invited down there, and probably around the same time I got selected to play cricket for Victoria. And you find out a little bit later that a lot of the guys around my time that were thinking about football and even training with the AFL clubs were picked before they were ready. So blokes like Simon O'Donnell, Jamie Siddons, Damien Fleming, Shane Warne, Tony Dottermaid, myself, because I went down to Geelong, they sort of pushed you through a little bit, so you get a taste of it, and then you've got a decision to make. And decisions made fairly easy when you get selected to play for Victoria. Football became sort of second fiddle, to be honest.
I'll tell you what though, I could just imagine that forward line now. Merv Hughes, Gary Ablett, Louis Brownless. It might have got Geelong over the hump over those late 80s, early 90s period.
And throw Mark Jackson in there too. It would have been a phenomenal forward line. But yeah, I suppose a combination of opportunities arose with the cricket and just sort of changed my focus a little bit. But went down and trained with Geelong and basically they said, go and have a crack at the cricket. We'll give you a ring at the end of the season. And by the end of the season, it's March, April. They've done all their training and they're starting their season. So I suppose they don't want someone that's so far behind. And, mate, that was, when was that, 1983, I reckon. I'm still waiting for that phone call. Didn't come.
It's interesting though, because I feel like they've still sort of used that technique today. Like young Will Parker, as a 17-year-old, gave him a go in the Victorian side because he was also a potential footballer. Will Sutherland, it's obviously still a method that they're using today, in that giving the young guys a go so that they choose cricket over footy, because it does seem to be that footy's been winning over cricket pretty consistently.
Yeah, well, I suppose the money and the opportunity is with the football. Like, you have to be in the top 20 players in Australia to make real good money, and the top virtually 30 players within your state to make reasonable money to play Sheffield Shield cricket, to get a contract there. So I did some coaching with the Victorian under-19s, under-21s and the VIS squad, and you'd go down and have a look at the talent between the 17s and the 19s, and you lose, I think it was 7 of your best 10 cricketers every year to football. And you said, this kid's a good player. Well, that's Mark Murphy. He's going to Carlton next year. He's good cricketer. This bloke, real good player. That's Deledio. He's going to go to Richmond next year. And you pick out probably the standout top 5 players, and they're going to get drafted by the AFL club. So more's got to be done to keep the players. But when you're picking an under-19 team and you go to a kid, listen, we're going to train for 6 months, and then we're going to pick a squad which you may or may not be in. And if you get lucky enough to be selected, you might get $2,500 for the 2 weeks. And then you got an AFL club come along and say, listen, we're going to pick you up in the draft. You're going to be on $60K first year payment. There's not a real lot of decision to be made there, is there?
So, I think it's even got up to 90K.
Yeah. So your first year, well, back then I think it might have been 40, but you just can't compete. And kids today are fairly switched on, and I've realised very quickly that there's more opportunity playing AFL football than there is playing cricket.
I find it really interesting in this day of elite athlete and finely tuned sports person. You've still got these people flip-flopping between cricket and footy and whatever other sport in their 20s. And
yeah, it makes it pretty hard. There's not too many flip-flopping now. The guys, I think, that are flip-flopping haven't really made a decision, haven't been picked up. So the guys that are still toying with both, they haven't been picked up by an AFL club. So they're still they still don't know whether at that age they're going to be considered too old. So a lot of them will play VFL footy, and then they may combine that with cricket. But you find out that it's got to be one or the other. It can't be both now with the training that's required for both. Even if you play a footy season, come out of footy season and start cricket season, you're probably 3-4 months behind everyone else. And that's not in fitness, that's just in hand-eye coordination, just your batting, your bowling. You got to get that right, and you've got to be training enough to do that. And vice versa with footy, you come out of cricket, you're just not that match fit, and you've got to be match fit to run around for 4 quarters to be worth anything. So the guys that are flip-flopping probably want to be footballers, but haven't been picked up in the draft, so they're not sure where their future lies.
Taylor, I'm just jealous that these blokes are elite at 2 sports and I'm no good at either.
Same, geez.
But I guess going away from that, we'll go back onto your career, Merv. So obviously you got that first start in Victoria. What was that like? You're going up from Premier Cricket to first class cricket and being able to represent your state at the senior level.
Oh, massive. So I suppose people say, as a kid, did you dream to be a cricketer? Mate, as a kid, you don't know about club cricket, you don't know about state cricket, you're straight in the Australian team, aren't you? So you don't hear of any Sheffield Shield matches, New South Wales v Victoria in the backyard. It's always Test cricket. So England versus Australia was the mainstay. And if you lost the toss, you're England. So that was devastating to start with. But as a kid growing up, you play both. And then when I got down to Footscray, you go down there, play a game in the thirds, get into the seconds. You're just really worried about holding your spot in the team there, and you're still focused on that. And if you're playing seconds and doing okay, obviously you're getting looked at for the first, and got into the first. And again, all you do is worried about holding your spot there. And I'd actually broken a cheekbone, so went down to Geelong, had a bit of a training run, playing basketball one night, broke a cheekbone, so missed a couple of weeks of cricket, and that's when the Geelong Footy Club sort of broke up to have their Christmas break. So that was late November into December. and then I started playing cricket again just before Christmas and played a couple of games and then got selected to play for Victoria straight after. So you don't put it together then, but when you get a taste of playing for Victoria, you just think, how good's this? So to get a trip to Adelaide, to get a trip to West Australia and play at the Wacker, just trying to think, I think we had a game in Brisbane. So we went up to Brisbane the first year and you think this is pretty special. And all of a sudden the focus changes from football to cricket. And football sort of takes the back seat. And then the next step, obviously, is to give football away. And that was a hard decision to make, but made that after about trying to combine the two for 3 or 4 years, and probably still hoping that I was going to get a call back from Geelong. But when that didn't eventuate, just full tilt into cricket.
Yeah, getting that initial call up for Victoria, obviously Sheffield Shield, like you said, nothing compared to Test cricket. You all dream of Test cricket when you're a kid. Does it feel like an honour, or does it? Well, obviously it feels like a bit of an honour, but is it viewed as just the next step towards getting?
No, it's a massive honour. You talk to anyone who plays state cricket, and it's just reward for what you're doing at district or premier level. Is that if you're playing constantly there and you're pretty consistent there with your form, that's just the next level. So obviously there's under 19s, there's under 21s, there's Cricket Australia, which is virtually second 11. So you get an indication that you're going in the right direction by playing under 19s, by being selected in the 21s. So it sort of helps make that decision. And then when you break into the Victorian side, and my first Victorian side were blokes that I grew up watching, or I was watching on TV. So we had a young Sean Graff playing there, and you guys won't remember it, but Sheffield Shield cricket was on the ABC. So I used to knock off school a bit early, to be honest, to get home to watch the cricket on the ABC. And when you can see something on TV, so the guys that Graham Yallop was captain of Victoria, Johnny Scholes, Ray Bright, Ian Cullen, Rod McCurdy, all these blokes that I've been watching on TV for a couple of years, and then you get to train alongside of them in the state squad, and then when you get picked to play alongside of them, mate, it's a massive jump up in standard. There's no doubt about that, and again, you just try and get yourself right to get through 4-day cricket.
And obviously you had some reasonable success in that. And in 85, you made your debut. Talk a little bit about your debut. For a lot of people, it's their career highlights, getting that baggy green cap, getting to represent your country. Did you have similar experiences with your debut?
Reward for effort, isn't it, from what you're doing in state cricket. And plus 1985, as you said, was the Rebel Tour to South Africa. So Australia lost 17, 18 of their more experienced and better players. So the door was open for some young blokes to come in and young blokes that weren't ready to play international cricket. And I was definitely one of those. So I had the opportunity. My first test match really didn't go to plan. 1 for 123 off 32 overs or something, a fifth ball duck and a couple of drop catches. So it wasn't an ideal start, but people often ask, do you ever forget it? And I just say, mate, no matter how hard I try, I can't forget that. But to find out at the end of that game that you've been dropped from the Australian side, the cogs start churning over. You just start thinking about the work that you've done to get there. And again, the jump in standard was massive and just wasn't prepared for it. And you get dropped and you know that you've got to improve. So the training that we did under Bob Simpson, that was his first game as coach for Australia. Alan Border was newly appointed, but just the training that I did with them was so much better. It was all about quality of training and not quantity. So I'd go to training and train for 3 hours, 4 hours and think you're doing the right thing, but you can't train at 100%. And you learn under Bob Simpson that it's all about, and his big one was perfect practice makes perfect performance. So it just changed the way that I train. Instead of doing really long sessions, I cut the sessions back and made sure that if I went for an hour and a half, it was at 100%. It wasn't at 90%.
Yeah, did you expect to get back into the side after being dropped for that first time? Were you confident of getting back into the side at some point?
Mate, when you walk away from a side with 1 for 123, you certainly got your doubts, and lucky enough to get in the next year. And I was in and out of the side, and I was having a few injury problems and whatever, and really didn't feel part of the side until probably 88, 89 and 89 Ashes series, to be a part of that, and really to be a part of the ever-improving Australian side from 85, when Bob Simpson took over, just had rebuilt from World Series cricket in the late 70s to the Rebel Tour to South Africa. Alan Border and Bob Simpson did a fantastic job building a team. And by the time we got to 88, 89, West Indies were ruling the world. We lost that series 3-1, but from within, we'd felt that we'd made sort of giant strides. And when we went to England, we actually went over to England quietly confident as a team, because we got Terry Alderman back, Trevor Haynes and Carl Rackerman from their 4-year ban from South Africa. So Terry Alderman in English conditions, there's no one better. And Carl Rackerman, if Carl Rackerman had stayed fit, I may not have played. And that may have been the end, but Carl Rackerman got injured. I got the opportunity and played the first test, got a few wickets. It was between Greg Campbell and myself who got dropped for the next test match, and Greg Campbell got dropped. Trevor Haynes came in, and basically we only used the 12 players for the tour. So to be part of that and to have guys of the calibre of Terry Alderman and Jeff Lawson on that tour certainly helped me progress.
Yeah, it was interesting because that 89 tour, that was really when you sort of came, I guess, onto the scene, like, where you became a regular in that side. Was it, I think it was before, where you had that really solid series against the West Indies,
yeah,
where you took the 13 wickets at Perth, including a hat-trick, which I'm sure we'll have to touch on a bit later. But why do you think you had so much success in that 89 period? Is particularly the fact that you're in and out of the side, but you had the backing of the captain, you had the backing of the coach. Do you think that really helped you in that?
Yeah, it just helped. And also, I think the general belief that a lot of us had played a lot of cricket together over the 3-4 year period leading up to that. So 85 was the last Ashes tour. Then we had the Rebel tour. Then blokes like, Steve Waugh, Mark Taylor, Ian Healy, Bruce Reid came in, although he didn't tour England, he was injured. We had a lot of young blokes being given the opportunity. And we just played a fair bit of cricket together, just grew in confidence, grew in belief. And by the time we got to England, and as I said, with Terry Alderman, Trevor Haynes and Carl Rackerman back in the side, we just thought that we had a really good blend of experience, and the youth had been together for, like I said, 3 years. So just growing in belief in each other and ourselves. And we actually went over to England, although written off by the media as the worst team ever selected to represent the country. From within the group, we were pretty confident.
How did you go with touring England for the first time? Because it's obviously, was it your first time?
Yeah, that was the first tour, first Australian tour, so 89. I suppose just the history and tradition makes it very special. But the great thing about England is there's no language barrier. You don't have to worry about going out in the streets, because basically, it's just like being in Melbourne or Sydney. So all English speaking, you can read road signs and all that. So there wasn't a drama, and there's no food barrier. So if you go down, I went on a short tour to India, and you're just so careful about what you're eating and what you're drinking.
What was your diet in India like?
Mate, it was pretty good. So we went over to India, and we stayed in Hyderabad. We had 10 days in Hyderabad. It was a one-day tournament, so we had a couple of build-up games, and then we had our first game in Hyderabad. So we were there for 10 days. And the hotels in India are magnificent, but if you go out and you eat in restaurants, and especially off street vendors and that, you're really asking for trouble. But I hit the jackpot. So we had Errol Alcott, who's our physiotherapist. He was our fitness and strength coordinator. He was our dietitian. And he virtually said, right, guys, if you go out, if 4 or 5 of you go out or you sit down to a meal, cannot order the same thing. So you have to order different food. So if one person gets sick, no one gets sick. So you always grab the menu first and you try and order first so you get what you wanted. And then the next one was that if you're in the hotel and you have something to eat and you don't get sick, eat it for the rest of our time here. Now, this is where I hit the jackpot. First night I was there, I had the fried chicken, Hawaiian pizza and chips and didn't get crook. So I had that for the next 10 days. It was fantastic.
That's unreal.
So 89 in England, I went over there with a bit of a weight issue, and everyone was on my back about my weight, and lost weight in England. And then when we got back from there, we went to this 1 day tour, so 4 weeks in India, and everyone sort of relaxed a bit. And I had to talk to Errol again. I said, what's going on over here? He said, what about? Well, I was under so much scrutiny in England about my weight. He said, mate, eat and drink what you want to in England. No one ever, in India, no one ever puts on any weight in India. So I went to England in 89. I reckon I dropped about 5 kilos, and that was unheard of. And I went to India for 4 weeks. I reckon I put on about 8 kilos, and that was unheard of. So, Errol Alcott dubbed me the freak of nature after that. He said, mate, no one puts on weight in India. You did. No one ever loses weight in England. You did. Freak of nature, and that was it for a while.
Like that kind of thing, the media being having so much scrutiny around your weight and just the team as a whole. Like you said, worst team to ever tour England. Was that what you said? Something like
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That can't be good for your mentality, but to do what you did and to be so
the big thing, the scrutiny from the media back in those days, it wasn't so much behind the scenes. It was just all about the cricket. So when we toured England 89, I think there was 5 journalists too. And then the last tour I went on as a selector was that 2009, I think it was. And, mate, the media over there's about 75 or 80 Australian media, and everyone wanted a story and no one wanted to write about cricket.
Yeah.
Mate, send sports journalists over there to write about the cricket, not what's going on behind the scenes. I mean, I'm not interested in that. I just want to know what's going on in the cricket. And to be honest, there's not too many articles I read now that can stimulate me on cricket, because they virtually write what you can get from the scorecard. I challenge the journalists out there, find your love of cricket again and start writing about the game, not the players within the game.
Is that something that frustrated you when you were on ABC? You know, you're on the commentary and obviously you're surrounded by journalists and you obviously had to go through the press box, and the fact that you feel like they're not writing about the cricket, they're just worrying about other things. Was it sort of hard for you to keep in check?
Oh, no, I've still got a few mates in the media and talk about that. So generally the media gets a little bit lazy now. So I want to read an article that tells me something more than a scorecard. Okay, so maybe why Davey Warner's getting out, maybe why Australia at a certain situation of the game attacked the batsman instead of defended against batsmen. That sort of stuff that gets you thinking about the game. But you read I very rarely read the articles now because it's, like I say, it's just not stimulating. There's a couple of guys that stimulate you and you read their articles.
Who are they?
Well, Malcolm Conn, who's got out of it, he was very good. Crash Craddock, although my criticism of Crash for a couple of years is that he doesn't follow the cricket now. So he stays at home and writes from home, so watches it on TV. So he's a little bit removed.
Yeah.
But I saw him at the MCG, and when he follows the cricket, he's obviously got a lot of contacts and writes a good story. Patrick Smithers, who's media manager for the AFL, was a very good journalist. Unfortunately, he got out of it. But there's guys
AFL
now.
taking another one.
Sorry?
AFL taking another one.
AFL taking, not only the players but the journalists as well. But he was very good at what he did. And, I just think that a lot of the guys now, Andrew Wu, what's in the Age, he's a good journalist, so he does his due diligence. He sort of, if he gets a story, he'll check on it. He won't just write it. But, mate, I love it when I read an article and the quote is from a source close to the team. So I just reckon if you're listening to this and you pick up a newspaper and you read a quote from a source close to the team, that's the journalist saying, I've just made this up. So that's pure and simple.
Just lazy journalism. So
mate.
Yeah.
You're going to go into a journalism career, mate. So don't do that, is what Merv is saying.
Always check the facts. Don't go off half-cocked. check your facts, have contacts where if you're not sure about a story, you can ring and verify it.
Yeah, I've got to watch out for Merv. Need to impress him. Can have an enemy in the media world.
Well, he's got your number now, so if you write something he's not happy with, he'll give you a call.
Oh yeah, mate, straight on the phone. But we in the old days when I played, you knew all the journalists, and now they're just anonymous. So they bag the players, and the players don't have any contact with them. In our day, you used to go back to the hotel. The journalist stayed at the same hotel. You'd be in the bar, you have a drink. If there was something that a journalist wrote about you and you weren't happy with it, you just pull him aside and have a talk. And that's not the issue now. The journalists now are almost faceless people where they don't want to get close to the side because they don't want the blowback.
Yep. And I guess just going back to the Ashes series, now something that I don't know if it was in that series, but I was researching last night. Normally Harper's a research man, but I thought I'd jump on my laptop and do a little bit. And there's a particular rivalry. I'll just double check the name. Is it Rob Smith? Or
Rowan Smith.
Robert Smith.
Robin
Smith.
He's in Batman and Robin Smith.
All right. Now you had a few good verbal stoushes with him over the years, and how was that rivalry? Because there's a couple in the top 30 best sledges of all time, and I reckon you and Robin were in about 3 of them.
Yeah, no, Robin's a very tough player. There's no doubt about that, and more so the '93 tour. I don't think he played 89, but he definitely came out here 90, 91, and then 93. And, mate, he was a very aggressive, in-your-face batsman, and I'd probably describe my bowling the same way. So we locked horns on many occasions, but I still say that the guys that I had most conflict with on the ground were the guys I get on with best off the ground, and certainly Robin Smith is one of those guys. Is that every time you catch up, you have a beer and you just talk about the crap that we used to get up to on the ground, and there wasn't anything personal in it. It was all business, and we can sit down, have a beer, and have a laugh about it. Michael Atherton's the same. Mike Great Patch of New Zealand, he's pretty much the same. So the guys that you have those rivalries with on the ground are the guys that I suppose you just respect, and they play the game fairly similar to the way you play it.
So what was your favourite sledge that you gave or got over the years, or that you heard? I know that's a tough question. I know that you got to search far and wide, but it's something that I'm sure the listeners and us were very excited
well, mate, to be honest, I reckon my best sledge ever was maybe 5-6 years ago. So playing for Crusaders, and the Crusaders is virtually a team of past players. Peter Bedford, ex-VFL football, Victorian cricketer, has a lot to do with it. It's made up of Swan Richards, and anyone that knows cricket knows Swan Richards, and he got it together as a coaching tool. So take past players and current players into the private schools in the eastern suburbs and play a game of cricket. And we're supposed to help develop their game. But very therapeutic for me, being from the western suburbs, to have the opportunity to drive over the Yarra River into the eastern suburbs and just sledge the absolute crap out of these eastern suburbs. It's very therapeutic. But we're playing Melbourne Grammar with this particular game, and the way the game goes, Crusaders always bat first and bat for 40 overs. And then the kids bat, when I say the kids, the young men from the schools bat, and they bat for 45 overs. And normally we make about 240, 260 and dictate the game. This particular game, we weren't that great. I think we got about 100 and maybe 170, 180. We got the big quick from England that's going to terrorise the kids. Didn't happen. I came on to bowl the 8th over of the innings, and Melbourne Grammar boys are none for 57. So they're off to a flyer, and I'm supposed to hold things up, being the old timer, the experienced player, just ran in, bowl the first ball, pitched up offside, just hit me through covers, 2 runs. I think that's not a bad shot. So a little bit wider, okay, just try and draw him into that drive and get a nick behind, and drew him into the drive, hit it in the middle of the bat, goes for 4 through covers. I thought, well, he's pretty good on the offside, so I just straightened up my line a little bit. So I went to middle and leg, and he just worked me through mid-wicket for 2 runs, and I'm thinking, this kid can bat. So we got our hands full there. I've been brought on to stem the flow of runs, and they've got 8 off 3 balls, and I'm thinking, this is not good.
It's like Big Bash.
So I go back to my mark and turn around to run into bowl, and the kid's out to square leg, asking the umpire, how many balls is that? So that's all right. He gets back in, faces up. I run into bowl my next ball, go through my action, hang on to the ball, and finish, I don't know, maybe 2-3 metres away from the kid batting. And Tommy Carroll was wicket keeper. He's a past Melbourne grammar schoolboy. Hey, Tommy, yeah, mate, you used to go to school here, didn't you, mate? Yeah, mate, I did. I said, roughly round figures, what's it cost to send a kid here? And he said, about 35K a year, Merv. Why is that? And I said, you'd be pretty pissed off as a parent if you paid 35K a year and your kid couldn't count to 6, wouldn't you? And the kid just thought, what's that supposed to mean? Figure it out for yourself, mate. So I had a bit of a chuckle about it and thought, how good am I? And then you remember you're playing against kids. But like I said, very therapeutic.
Were they whippy, the private school boys? And
no, they were good.
A few whippies.
No, they were good. Mate, we played against that Seb Gotch when he was at, I think he went to Caulfield, Caulfield Grammar.
Caulfield Grammar, yeah.
He's one of the very few guys that made 100 against us, so he was always going to be a very good player. And there's a couple of guys that we played against that are coming through now, and when you run into them, mate, I played for Melbourne Grammar against you when you were at Crusades, and I've been told, I remember Seb Gotch because he got 100 against us. I haven't run into him again, but mate, he seems a real good kid. But to go around to all those schools and, mate, the facilities they've got are absolutely fantastic. So Carey Grammar, you go out there, Brighton Grammar, you play there, and mate, they're better than district grounds, the grounds they play on.
Yeah, I'm a bit flat that the Crusaders never made their way down to Peninsula Grammar and Mount Eliza. Would have liked to have hit you around, mate.
I would have been out that with a strained hamstring, too far to drive.
Yeah, well, 5-6 years ago may have been the prime of your sledging career, but I want to get back to the prime of your bowling career, your cricket career. So we mentioned it before, the hat-trick against West Indies.
Yeah.
People might not know about it, or I'd hope they know about it. One of the most unusual hat-tricks in the history of Test cricket. Can you just talk us through it?
Well, it was interesting. The Test match before, so the first Test in Brisbane I didn't play, Courtney Walsh got a hat-trick, so 2 wickets in an over in the first innings and then his first ball in the second innings. So hat-trick, they were saying that was an unusual hat-trick. And then we get to Perth. West Indies batted first. I reckon from memory made about 450. And then off the back of Steve Waugh, who made 96, and Graham Wood got 120, we got about 390. So we were 8 for about 390. I was batting number 11 in this particular game for one good reason. Mike Whitney wasn't playing. But batting number 11, Jeff Lawson's batting against Curtly Ambrose, and Curtly hit him in the jaw. He just had the ear guards on his helmet, so broke his jaw, hit the deck. We're 50, 60 runs behind, and that was it with half an hour to go in the day. Alan Border declares, and I'm forever grateful. I think he saved my life that day. And just the astute thinker he is, why did you declare, Alan? Well, we couldn't afford to be 2 bowlers short in the second innings, so I'm forever grateful. But we go in, 10-minute changeover. We've got 20 minutes to bowl. So I have a look around the room. There's Tony Dottermaid, there's Steve Waugh, and there's Tim May are the other bowlers. So I'm virtually guaranteed the new ball, aren't I? So pretty well pumped up, and Alan Border comes over and said, right, you're going to start? Okay. I said, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to bounce the shit out of him. I said, no, don't do that. They'll be expecting that. Get the ball on a line and length, we might get a wicket tonight. Oh, okay. And Bob Simpson comes over and said, right, you're starting. Yeah, AB told me. What are you going to do? I'm going to bounce the shit out of him. No, don't do that. Get the ball in the corridor of uncertainty, and we might get a couple of wickets. Oh,
Where is the corridor of uncertainty for those playing at home?
I've got no idea. I think it's line and length. I'm not sure. I had no idea. But as we're walking out onto the ground, Craig McDermott comes over, wraps his arm around me and said, what are you going to do here? I said, I'm going to bounce the shit out. And he said, yep, good idea. That's what I'd do. Get stuck into him. So he's 12th man. So we've got this game plan. I'm going to bounce the crowd. So run in, bowl the first ball. Gordon Greenwich back and across, LBW. Now, people say you got a bit excited. Did you know I was on a hat-trick? And I said, well, I didn't know I was on a hat-trick. And people look at you and say, how dumb are fast bowlers? Like, it's 3 wickets in 3 balls. But what had happened, last ball in my second last over, I got a wicket. Then Tim May bowled an over. He got a wicket in his over. Then I bowled the first ball of my next over, wicket, and that was change of innings. And then a day and a half later, as I said, Graham Wood got 120, Steve Waugh got 90 odd. We go out to bowl after Jeff Lawson's been hit. We get a wicket, and everyone said that I was over the top because I knew I had a hat-trick. I was over the top because I got Gordon Greenwich out first ball and the adrenaline was pumping. And now I think I'm on a hat-trick. Richie Richardson comes in to bat, bowl the ball to him. I claim play and miss. I reckon he would have played inside a wide one, but I'm claiming play and miss. Bowled the rest of the over, Maiden. Tony Dottermaid bowled his over, and then Steve Waugh jogged down from slips to grab my cap and jumper for my next over. And he just said, big fella, I think you got a hat-trick. I said, don't think so. He said, no. Pretty sure. He said, no, I don't. I said, how do you figure that? He said, just hear me out here. What about last ball of your second last over, first ball of your last over, change of innings, and then first ball? I said, no, I don't think that's right. And he said, yeah, I'm pretty sure. I said, well, what makes you so sure? He said, we just heard on the PA system. So no one in the side identified that it was a hat-trick, but through the over, Tony Dottermaid's over, obviously it was announced at the PA system at the members' end, and didn't hear it from where I was. But boys were pretty chuffed. I was pretty chuffed, but still lost the game by about 250 runs. So it was probably a pointless hat-trick, to be honest.
Names in the record book, though, that's all.
Oh, happy days, yeah. Test hat-tricks, they come up there. I'm always about third or fourth.
Yeah. You're part of a bit of a weird club there. Not too many hat-tricks more unusual than that, hey?
And Damien Fleming took an unusual hat-trick on debut. So in Pakistan, had wicket, Joe Angel bowled an over, then they had a drinks break, and with that, Salam Malik was on 208, changed in, so he's on strike for Damien Fleming's hat-trick and run in and knocked him over. So pretty unusual hat-trick there.
I'm just hearing you guys talk about getting 3 wickets and 3 balls. I can't even land 3 balls on the pitch. So stop showing me up, Merv. Like I came here, I was feeling good about myself. But
I didn't necessarily land 3 balls in an over either. 3 different overs. So 1 good ball and over just at the right time. I'm with you. I'm all over it, Lockie.
I like it. But speaking about that doubt, how was it? Because I'm not a stats man. My numbers aren't necessarily always correct, but I think out of from your debut, you played 6 out of 22 possible tests, but you're always around the touring squad. It wasn't like you were playing state cricket. Still, you're on the tour. How difficult was that? Every time you're coming in, it seemed like you're probably playing for your spot because you knew that you had one test out for the other. Do you think that helped your game, or do you think it really just hindered it during that period?
Probably hindered it because you've got self-doubts anyway. If you play a test match and you get dropped, and you're more, I suppose it's a selfish attitude, you're more worried about your own performance than you are about the team's performance, and that's not a good position to be in. And to be honest, the first couple of years I played with the Australian side, the culture within wasn't great because everyone was worried about their own performance. And really it wasn't until Ian Healy came into the side a couple of years on that he started really appreciating other people's effort. So if I sat down there and I'd missed out, but Craig McDermott got wickets, you'd be almost jealous because you knew he was going to get picked, and you're waiting for the tap on the shoulder. So when you've got a few players and there's a few injuries here and there, and you're not first selected, and mate, I was in for a test, out, then I'd get picked for a test and get dropped. Then you get picked for a test and then get dropped. And probably by 85, 86, 87, 88 was probably where you draw the line in the sand, and you say to yourself, something's got to happen soon, otherwise you're going to miss out. So in that time, it's not as though you're walking away and sulking that you've been dropped. You're walking away, getting to state practice and getting to state games, trying to understand how you can improve, how you can become better. And we had really good coaching staff with Victoria at the time. So to get dropped from the Australian structure, go back to Victoria, we had Ian Redpath, Keith Stackpole and Alan Conley. And Alan Conley, as a bowling coach, was sensational. And he played at the top level. He played a lot of cricket for Victoria. So to have him there, and he'd been through a similar situation, so to have him there and to have him to lean on and getting advice from someone that's been in a similar position was really helpful too.
It is interesting how you speak about the importance of coaching, because I feel like maybe back in the 70s and 80s, I for a while there wasn't a head coach of Australia, maybe earlier than that, and I guess coach of Australia was really a new thing. But from you speaking, you felt like having a good Australian coach and a good coach back in Victoria really helped your game, which for the first, I don't know how many years of Test cricket there was a coach of Australia?
There was a manager, and then the captain sort of took control. But when Alan Border was given the captaincy, it was sort of thrust upon him, and he didn't think he was ready for it. So Cricket Australia then thought that having a coach would take a little bit of pressure off Alan Border, so he could get himself ready and take over on match days. Where I think for a long time the manager of the Australian team sort of did that role, organised a lot of things. But certainly I've been very lucky to have really, really strong and really intelligent, smart leadership throughout. So when I got to Footscray, we had Ron Gaunt, the bowling coach, who former Test player, Lindsay James, Ken Eastwood, who played for Victoria and Australia, and Jimmy Mann. So club stalwarts and guys that had been at the next level. So they're actually preparing you to play at the next level, and that's certainly what Ian Redpath was doing, just preparing a heap of young guys to play at the next level. And if you have a look at the guys that went through under his watch as coach, it was phenomenal, the numbers he got in. And then to get into the Australian side and to have Bob Simpson and Alan Border, and Bob Simpson was exactly what I needed. So if I had a coach that was a little bit soft, mate, don't work too hard today. Happy days. I'm with you there.
Straight to the pub.
But Bob Simpson was, you need to have a good workout today. Oh, okay then. So he was a really good people person, where I think a lot of coaches throw everyone into the same box and just say, right, we all do the same thing. But a really good coach separates that and pulls guys from different boxes. And he was just able to get the best out of a lot of different personalities, and certainly helped me a lot.
Yeah. Now, once you really got embedded into that team, we were talking about, Lachlan and I were chatting about this before, you had a special relationship with a certain bay of a certain stadium, the MCG. Yeah. Tell us a bit about your relationship with that
Bay 13
bay and the stadium.
The MCG Bay 13, mate. It's the best sporting arena, I would say, in the world, definitely in Australia. To have capacity of close to 100,000 people, and that's what I always said, that there's only one thing better than playing cricket at the MCG in the Australian side, was playing cricket at the MCG as a Victorian in the Australian side. The love that we got at the MCG and the love that I got, particularly in front of Bay 13, was absolutely phenomenal. So if we played a test match there, you would hope that there was a left-hander on strike at the start of the game, so you could walk straight down to Bay 13. So Craig McDermott always bowled from the members end, and you always hoped that the bowler was, and I'd come from the southern end, and you'd go down there, and it was right-handers. That's the only time I really didn't like right-handers, the first over on the day, if they were on strike. And same with the one-dayers, but one-dayers, you have fine leg and third man. So I always hope AB would just say, Merv, down there. So there was one game where he started me at fine leg to the right-hander, and Bay 13 blew up, and he actually swapped us over. So he had as much to do with it as anyone else. But, mate, it doesn't matter where you play, home crowd looks after the home play. So you go to Adelaide Oval and Travis Head hits a four, the cheer's just a little bit louder than if Smith or Warner hits a four. You go up to the Gabba, Marnus Labuschagne hits a four, crowd's just a little bit louder. Now, you double that crowd at the MCG, when a Victorian hits a boundary or takes a wicket, the crowd noise is phenomenal. And then to walk down to Bay 13, it's like they haven't got a stop button. It was bloody fantastic, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. It was disappointing not having a Victorian in for the Boxing Day test this year.
Yeah, I thought Jimmy Patterson might have got in there. A good bowler, good player, but the guys that they got in there are doing a fantastic job. So he's going to have to wait his turn, but he can't be too far away.
It's interesting that you touch on that, because I feel like it's a bit of a segue now to your role as a selector. Now, this is a role that really intrigues me. because it's such a tough job being the Australian selector. I mean, it's so talked about throughout the media. Like, you have the top selection down at the pub is the top chat topic down the pub is who should be the top 6 batsmen for Australia. Yep. I guess I'd love to know what actually goes into that selection, because you're not just poring over the stats. You're not just looking at, okay, these blokes average 40 in first class cricket. They're going straight into the test match team, because there's much more to that. What is the process picking the test side?
It's no different to the 4 blokes having a chat in the pub over a few beers, is that it's just opinion. The only thing that's different is that we're probably a little bit more informed with stats and venues and how players go against certain teams. So, if we're playing against the West Indies and they've got 4 fast bowlers, you look at someone that does well against faster bowlers as opposed to someone who does well against spin bowling. If you play against India, not so much now, but back then when they were very spin strong, you look for guys that play really well against spin. And then with Ashwin, the way that he is, if we've got a lot of lefties in the side, you look for a right-hander. When you play against Sri Lanka, not Srinath, what was the left-arm spinners? Sarath, so I was close. So you're looking at getting a right-hander in that middle order rather than a left-hander, and just things like that. Vice versa. So left-arm orthodox, spinning the ball back in to the left-hander. If you're mounted up with right-handers, makes it difficult. So you look for a left-hander. So there's a lot of that taken into it. And then because we were playing more cricket when I was selecting, the big topic was to take pressure off our bowlers was to have someone in the top 6 that gave us a bowling option. And people talk about Marcus North playing.
I love Marcus North, one of my favourite.
He got picked to play for Australia. He was the 3rd best performed batsman in first class cricket, but the thing that got him across the line was he was the best performed off spinner in 3 years. So you're picking someone not only because they bat, because they can give you that option with the ball.
I still love his 6 for 55 against Pakistan. That was in 2010.
Yeah.
He was one of my favourite players to watch growing up, to see him get that 6 for. And what was weird in an Australia and Pakistan game in England, but that was awesome.
Ripper. But I just wanted to ask one more thing about your playing career. Your knee injuries that kind of happened towards the end of the career, I think.
Yeah.
Are there any regrets that you feel maybe you could have played on longer if they were handled in a certain way? Or
mate, they were handled. Couldn't have been handled any better. As I said, we had Errol Alcott, team physio, and as a fast bowler, physiotherapist is your best friend.
Yeah.
So we got to England by the time we got to England in 93, I was having a little bit of knee trouble, and a couple of times it locked up, and you just massage it out. Mate, what's wrong with it? He said, mate, you got this. You got this. Probably a bit of floating bone in your knee. When it gets jammed in the wrong spot, it locks up. So it's not going to get any worse. If you can deal with the pain, you're right to go. So when we won the Ashes, I had the option to come home and get my knee operated on and get it looked at. There was no way known I was going to leave. We're just having a great time, and I was still fit. In my mind, I was still fit to play. So playing occasionally it locked up, you get it massaged and it'll be right. So not a problem. And then get home, and did it cut my career short? Possibly, but if I had the time over again, wouldn't change it. And the other thing that cut my career short was a young kid coming through the ranks by the name of Glenn Mcgrath. I played 1 test with him in South Africa. Actually, it might have been 2 tests with him in South Africa. Then I got dropped from the side. And once you get dropped as a 32, 33-year-old, it's a long way back.
Yeah.
And I reckon still grateful to the selectors for that 94 tour to South Africa. I reckon, to be honest, I probably didn't deserve to go, but I reckon it was reward for what I'd done. So it was a little bit of a severance pay. But to be part of that trip, to be there for Alan Border's last test match, obviously very special, but disappointing, the result, that we didn't get across the board and that I didn't perform as well as I hoped. And coming back from the knee injury, I look back at it and, well, I'd say partly to blame, but probably fully to blame, because when I did the knee injury and I missed most of the back end of most of the season the next year, I had one goal, was to get back into the Australian team. And I always say, never be satisfied when you reach your goals. And when I got back into the Australian side, that's what I wanted to do. And when I did it, I just sat back and thought that I've done what I wanted to do, and played 2 test matches in that South African trip. And if you have a look at the figures, my figures weren't good enough to be selected for the third. And like I said, once you're getting dropped as a sort of 33-year-old, you're not coming back.
Yeah. Now, we've got one more question before we get on to some of our traditional final questions. You've got this perception as this fun, lovable larrikin character. Everyone knows that. Merv Hughes, he's kind of the man of the people kind of thing. Do you feel that took away from your skill at all in your career?
Oh, no, not really. People can look and have an opinion on what you do. And mate, an opinion's opinion. And probably the opinion that I value more is from the selectors. If they're picking you, it means you're doing the right thing. So you're doing your job within the team. The opinion of Bob Simpson and an Alan Border was very important to me. So generally what the bloke on the street thinks, they can think, I've got no control over that. But I suppose in a lot of ways it took the pressure off my performance, because ultimately no one expected too much from you. So if you got wickets, Big Merv did okay. And if you didn't get wickets, but he's good fun, he's a good bloke. So it works both ways. But as I said, ultimately, what people think of you can't control. So I'm always on a view is that what people think of me, good, bad, indifferent, if it's coming from someone I don't know, how does that affect me?
What do you reckon your legacy is?
My legacy,
Crusaders superstar.
super sledger against 16, 17-year-old kids from eastern suburban private
Hero
schools.
of Werribee football.
No, I'd like to be. It's good to be remembered as a character of the game. There's no doubt about that. But probably from my peers and the guys that I play with, the respect and their thoughts are more important and valued to me. I'd just like to think that they would think that I was just a bloke that had a go. I don't think I was ever the best player, but mate, just had a go.
You say you're not the best player, but you're one of the few to be inducted in the Australian Cricket Hall of Fame, 212 test wickets. I mean, how much did that honour mean to you? As well as, I'd love to know, it's a 2-part question that's not that relevant, but I just wanted to get it in there. Favourite test wicket that
favourite test wicket's an easy one. Google's a wonderful thing now, so people can go and Google this. Second innings, Lords Test match, 1989. So England batted first. I reckon from memory got about 270. Then we got about 400. And then we went out and bowled again. And we had England pretty much dusted. We had them 5 for when they passed us, I reckon. So we had them 5 for not many. And Gower and Robin Smith were getting some runs. And they actually put on a big partnership. And just as the game was starting to drift away from us, new ball was coming up. Terry Alderman, Jeff Lawson bowled with the new ball. I had another spell at Gower and Smith, and I was bowling at Gower and just bowling fairly short into his ribs, and I had Alan Border at mid-on. And AB just said to me, "What are you thinking here?" I said, "Well, I'm thinking I don't need a mid-on. The length I'm bowling, he's not going to drive me. So what I'm going to do is try and get him tucked up and maybe off a glove or something to backward square leg gully." So he then went from mid-on to backward square leg, just a little bit behind square leg, and 2 balls later, bouncer tucked him up, got the handle of the bat, and he took a catch at backward square leg. And probably the two most satisfying things about that was Alan Border actually listened to what I had to say, and I actually thought about how to get a wicket. So it was twofold success. So that to me is the best wicket I ever took in Test cricket. And the Hall of Fame honour, just absolutely blown away by it. So it's something that I reckon as a player you don't really think about. I had this beautiful speech, I reckon, prepared for about 15 years. Merv, if you're going to get into the Hall, I'm going to jump into the Hall of Fame and my speech is going to start, well, it's about fucking time. And then when you get there, it just seems very inappropriate, so I couldn't go with it. But just to know the people who selected, so they're from a peer, so again being recognised by your peers, and to be in that upper echelon of players, just absolutely stoked. Couldn't be any more thrilled, and probably the thing for me to have my family there on the day was great. But the whole thing was just overwhelming.
Oh, mate, congratulations. But I'd love to know, Harps, have you ever taken a wicket?
Oh, well, no, I've played about 2 matches of cricket in my life. In school sport, I took a catch once, but that's about it.
Better than dropping it.
No, I didn't drop any catches. It was a crocodile catch, actually.
Mate,
not the best technique in the world.
Just got to catch them. Doesn't matter how.
Caught it, and I'm never going to forget that one. But, mate, we've gone through the ups and downs and kind of everything in between. But we ask a traditional final question before we get to our famous last segment. Have you got a life philosophy or any quotations or mantra, anything you live by?
A mantra I live by and have done for a long time is SBS and DFD. If you live by those 2 things, you can't go wrong. So strictly beer only and don't fucking dance. They're the only 2 things I live by. I hope your crew don't mind me swearing, but you can bleep it out, I suppose. You've got a technician out the back who'd be really good. But, yeah, I mean, and the mantra that I do a lot of coaching, and the mantra I try to pass on to players and the philosophy I've got is it doesn't matter what you do, doesn't matter what industry you're in. If you want to be better than the next bloke, do more. So if you're playing cricket, if everyone trains twice a week and plays Saturday, if you want to become better, you just do more. Train 3-4 times a week. Just things like that. So just the little things matter.
Oh, that's awesome, man. It's funny you mentioned the swearing because I know that one of our past guests who just won Guest of the Year for Season 1, Hunter Clark, he actually got in trouble from his mum for swearing too much on this podcast. She listened to it and she wasn't too happy that he swore too much.
I'm safe because my mum's not that IT savvy. She doesn't know what a podcast is. I don't think she's up with the internet, to be honest.
Fair enough.
So I'm safe.
We're going to get to our last segment, and this is where it gets quite sweary because there's a lot of passion in this segment. It's the world famous Where Do We Begin quiz.
Okay.
So, I've got 5 questions for the both of you. You two compete against each other, Lockie and Merv. And all 5 questions have got some vague connection to your career, Merv.
Yeah.
So we'll start
So if I lose this...
You're a disgrace.
That's right.
Geez, don't mince your words.
Well, he's right.
Wait until you hear the questions.
Yeah, so you've already seen him?
No.
I've been set up. It's a setup.
He knows the wacky questions you kind of get. So,
no worries.
A lot of guesswork needed usually. So we'll start with question 1. Your name's your buzzer, so just Merv or Lockie.
No.
So I believe 13th of December 1985, your debut versus India. So I'm going to need you to guess.
What was that, 13th of December?
13th of December 1985.
I thought it was November. How am I going? Anyway,
maybe I misread. Maybe it was November. But anyway, we're running with 13th of December.
Yep.
So I'm going to need you to get just 2 of these 3 answers to get the point. So on this day, the 13th of December 1985, can you name the President of the USA, the Prime Minister of the UK, and the Prime Minister of Australia?
Jeez, I wasn't even born, Merv.
America and England. Okay. Yeah, Merv.
Merv, go for it.
Margaret Thatcher.
Correct. One more. Australia or America?
How much time have I got?
Sure, you met the Prime Minister. Wait, did they do that tradition where you went to their house back?
85. Bob Hawke.
Bob Hawke, that was absolutely correct. Got the point. Oh, lovely. 1-0 up. So he's definitely...
I can't be beaten.
He's giving me the death stare. I
can't be beaten.
Batsman.
Yeah.
Well, it is handy. I reckon it is handy when you're being born, 25 years after the people in the question are... Jesus. Anyway.
It probably is.
Probably 30 years, to be honest.
Anyway, question 2. So I believe your birthday is 23rd of November. Is that correct?
Yep.
Yep.
Merv,
Think about that
it's a
one.
Monday. No,
Question
sorry.
is, so on the 23rd of November 1991, which singer confirmed that he had AIDS the day before he
Lockie.
died? Lockie.
Wait, 1991?
Yep.
Was it
It's the day before he died.
Merv,
Easy-E?
Easy E's incorrect. Merv.
Freddie Mercury.
Freddie Mercury is absolutely
it was
correct.
91.
I thought it was Freddie Mercury.
I was thinking-
Freddie Mercury. Mate, 2-0. Can I declare?
Just walk out and say you've won 2-0.
So how
End
many
of
questions
podcast.
are there? 3?
5.
Oh.
5 questions.
Right.
Question 3. Question 3 is the closest to the pin question. Fellow Victorian bushranger and famed facial hair owner, Ned Kelly, died on the 11th of November of which year?
Lockie? 1821.
1821.
Actually, no.
Merv,
You go.
1821 is incorrect.
1822.
Yeah. Merv's got the point. He's closer.
Nearest the pin.
Nearest the pin.
It was about, or it was about 1880, wasn't it?
Spot on.
So I just wanted to be sure. I didn't want that too much. Yes. 3-0.
That's great work from you, Merv. I'd like to give you double points, but I've got to keep the integrity of the competition. Got to play by the rules. 3-0.
Okay.
But Lockie's still got a chance. 'cause
I come in clutch,
There,
Merv.
there are some bonus
I
points.
only wake up in the last 2 questions. I'll
Oh,
let
wow.
the guests feel good about
Yeah,
themselves.
no, yeah. No, I'm feeling very good about myself.
He's feeling
I
very
think next question is my middle name.
Question 4. So, of course,
Bradley.
Not even
what is
close.
your middle name?
It's Rossiter.
Rossiter. There you go. Anyway,
my name.
Question
Would never
4.
got that.
Merv was an historic city located in modern-day Turkmenistan. So can you just tell me, on which continent is Turkmenistan?
Merv.
Merv, go.
Europe.
Europe is incorrect.
Which continent?
What continent?
Lockie.
Turkmenistan.
Asia.
Asia's correct.
I told you,
Well,
Merv.
I'm back. Here we go.
Merv
The
is
comeback starts here.
It's not an Asian name, Merv. European. Okay, you killed it. Good
Nervous
work.
over there?
Mate, I'm 3-1 up with 1 question to go.
He's shaking in his boots. But one question.
This is worth extra points.
Clearly,
Oh, it's a rort. It's a rort.
I thought everyone in Australia had heard this podcast, but clearly Merv hasn't, because
Okay.
question 5 is always the who am I question. I'm going to
for
start from
6
5
points.
points
Okay.
all the way down to 1 point. It gives you a series of clues. And once you buzz in and get it wrong, you can't buzz in again until the other person gets it wrong. And yeah, all those clues will lead into who I am, obviously. So we'll start with the 5-point clue. I was born on the 23rd of November, 1928, in Port Fairy in Victoria.
Just haven't given me much. 1928.
1928.
Port Fairy.
I'll move to the 4-point clue.
Hang on.
Yeah, you can have a
For
crack
5
now.
points.
This will be big. 8-1 win if he gets it here.
Pass.
Okay, we'll go to the 4-point.
So when was it?
1928.
1928.
Same birthday as you in 1928.
1928. So he's 90, 88, 90. How old is he?
It's 93.
Did you go to school
Oh,
with
sorry,
him? Merv?
92, 92.
Merv, did you go to school with him?
I could have.
We'll move to the 4-point clue. For 4 points, I'm an official legend of my sport, despite not playing nearly as many games as is usual for a legendary career. Do you want me to move up to the 3rd point?
No,
clue?
no.
I had to
Well,
search
I'm just
Merv before.
thinking. It's you've got a cricketer as a guest. So 19. No, pass.
Okay, we'll go to the 3-point clue. Lockie's got to get it here to win it outright.
And that it's a good line of thought, but then I reckon the other week we had a hockey player on and it was an actress. So just because
Yeah.
it's a cricket player,
Well, you know these things. I was just putting pieces together.
I'm helping you out, Merv. I'm giving you a
I'm no
fighting
good at
chance.
jigsaws either. by the way.
Yeah, we'll go to the 3-point clue. Lockie's got to get it here to win it outright. For 3 points. I died suddenly of a coronary atheroma in the early hours of the 5th of April 1973, only 8 years after coaching my side to a VFL premiership.
Port Fairy.
So he died at 44, only 8 years after he...
Lockie? Tom Hafey?
Hey, correct. He died about 5 years ago, I think, mate.
Oh,
so that was worth a shot. It was worth a shot.
So if I don't get any wrong,
You can
I
just-
win.
Yeah.
I can just pass.
Yeah, well, You can guess it eventually, but just guess what
But
you
I
want.
just passed.
Yeah, exactly.
I saw him.
Merv's a very competitive bloke, clearly.
Okay,
Do you want
so
to have a guess here, just to get the?
okay, so Tommy Hafey.
I don't know. I just thought 90. I knew that Richmond were good in the
So
70s.
he died suddenly. Port Fairy,
So, and he won a VFL premiership in '65 and died in '73.
65. So that's got to be Melbourne. 65. So it's not Ron Barassi either. All right. 65. Who won the premiership in 65?
Just a shout out to Ron if you're listening. We know you're still alive, mate. Just
Who won? Can you give us a clue?
yeah, I can keep going. Go to the 2-point clue.
2 points.
So for
this
2
is
points in round. Oh yeah, Lockie, you can still get it for the draw, and then we'll go to a tiebreak.
No, not
Nah,
yet.
he hasn't had a guess.
Oh yeah,
Yes,
you haven't had. Yeah, true. Of course.
Sorry, I just given him the bird. Probably works better on video than podcast.
I can't bleep that one out.
I can see how you switched.
Okay, here we go for 2 points.
For 2
Hang on,
points.
wait. Pass.
For 2 points. In round 10 of the 1952 season at a very muddy Brunswick Street Oval, I did not kick a goal. This would be the only time in my career where I was held goalless in my 98 Essendon career. 98 game Essendon career, sorry.
Oh, I know. He played footy down at Hastings.
Yeah, played full forward. Yeah.
I'll tell you, man.
Geez, Essendon full
I
forward.
know.
He's a goal in every game.
I know.
I know. I can't think of his name. This is embarrassing. So I'm not gonna.
no.
I'm gonna have to pass because I know that's gonna hurt you. But I'll tell you who it is. I know his name. Tell me his name. And I'll tell you yes or no. This is embarrassing. So Essendon won 65, obviously.
So he coached the premiership in 65, not necessarily the same team.
No, pass.
For
1.5 points.
Oh, okay. How about this?
What about for 1.5 points?
Yeah, I'll go to the next clue. I'll bring Lockie back in and just see if he can get it. See if it's right.
Well, go now.
Just guess now. Yeah, just guess.
John Coleman.
John Coleman.
No.
Well, I'll read out the 1 point clue and then you see if you agree if it's John Coleman, Merv. What for 1 point? On the 15th of April, 1949, I kicked it to this day unbeaten 12 goals on debut.
So I was thinking of Coleman, but
Keep going. Yeah.
it's not. I don't reckon it is John Coleman.
I'll keep reading.
He played 98
Having
games,
kicked
I reckon.
an average of 5.48 goals per game, second highest average ever, the AFL's leading goal kicker award is named after
Yeah.
John Coleman.
John Coleman. There you go.
Oh, no.
Well done.
I was thinking
1.5 points.
coach. I was thinking.
Who was the full forward that wore the glasses first?
Oh, Bill. Our producer might know. Jeff.
No, not Jeff Blethen. There's someone, mate. I'll probably, but I was thinking Joel Coleman,
Yeah.
and then I was thinking, no, it's not him. I thought Coleman was Collingwood.
Nah, Coleman was Essendon. We're both big Essendon men. Jeez,
Well, I should have known that, isn't it?
Alright, good-
No,
good
I actually thought Coleman was Collingwood.
nah.
No.
Jeez. That's disgraceful for you.
See, that's nice by me letting him win by half a point.
Yeah, exactly. Our first ever half-point win in the history of the Where Do We Begin quiz. So there
It was a pretty weak win too, wasn't it? I should have. Well, I was thinking John Coleman straight away, and then didn't have the courage to say because I didn't want you back in the game.
you say that. You say that.
No, the 3 point win. What was the question for 3 points?
For 3 points, let me get it back up.
Held goalless for the first time.
Yeah.
No. 3 point clue was he died at 44 of 8 years after coaching his side to a VFL premiership.
Yeah, no, had no idea that.
Yeah. All right, there you
So
go.
for 2 points, I wasn't game enough. I was thinking John Coleman, and then you doubt yourself.
Yeah.
Should just first instinct.
Trust your
John Coleman. God.
Thank you so much for
We've
coming on.
got one
Merv.
more thing, Lockie.
Oh, of course.
It's the second time you've forgotten in 2 weeks, mate. Merv,
So he's down in the dumps. He's lost by half a point.
It's my old age, Haas. It's my old age.
shot.
So you got to kick straight. If you kick straight, you win.
Exactly. Merv, we
Yes.
had a chat to you before we recorded this podcast, maybe a few days ago. This might be a new segment depending on when we start releasing these season 2 episodes, but we're getting our guests to plug a charity. Shout out
yes.
to a charity that's close to their heart or that means something to them that maybe the listeners might want to donate to.
Well, I've got the shirt on. In fact, I had a golf day on Monday. Mark Taylor's an ambassador chairman for the charity. It's called A Sporting Chance Foundation. And what they do is they raise money for disadvantaged kids, and other charities can apply to get money, or individuals can apply to get money. So it goes to committee and it's allocated as such. And Fujitsu and Sportsbet are really, really good sponsors, so they get some good money in. And they've raised, I'd love to know the figures, but they've raised a hell of a lot of money over the last 10 years. And Mark Taylor's right in behind it. So if he's behind it, so am I. So it's a Sporting Chance Foundation.
Yeah, we'll give you their socials and their website in our outro of the podcast, and it'll be lovely if you could spare any change for them. That would be great.
That'd be fantastic.
Yeah.
Cheers, guys. Thanks for that.
Thanks for that. Thanks very much. He's outroed us before we outroed him.
But no, Lockie, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to be in.
Yeah, it was great to have you.
Likewise. Thanks so much, Merv.
Wow, how good was that, Harps?
Oh, Merv Hughes, what a delight it was to have him on the show. Such a legend of just Australian sport, really, and so generous with his time. One of the best guys we've ever come across. I know that for a fact. And yeah, it was just an honour. And great time having him on the show.
Yeah, and speaking of generosity, Harp, so a new sort of segment that we've got is we get to plug our guest charity of the week, and this week it is Sporting Chance, which is a great foundation. So Sporting Chance was founded by Mark Taylor, Reg Gasnier, Raylene Boyle and Bob Skilton. It is a non-for-profit organisation which offers financial support and by giving mobile home care units that will make life easier for children with cancer, as well as outreach programs for kids with cancer in regional areas. It's an awesome foundation, and I'm just stoked that we can support it.
Yeah, they really do some amazing work. They've helped more than 6,000 families all across the country of Australia. And Merv was actually wondering at the end of that episode there how much they've raised specifically. We haven't got the exact figures, but according to their website, sportingchance.com.au, they've raised more than $14 million in support of programs, which is just a phenomenal figure, really. $14 million in support of programs. It's amazing. And like I said, you can check them out at sportingchance.com.au. I know we'd appreciate it, and Merv would appreciate it. Everyone involved with the charity and the people the charity helps as well would massively appreciate it. If you could just donate, whether it's $3 or $4 for tomorrow's morning's coffee, or 50 cents or $50, whatever it may be, every cent counts. And yeah, it would just be enormously appreciated from everyone. If you could donate to Sporting Chance at sportingchance.com.au.
Yeah, 100% Harps. And now we'll have a little tease for our next episode. It's one of the biggest names from one of the biggest clubs in the AFL men's competition. So we're super excited to get that out to you all and for everybody to hear it.
Yeah. And I know all of you guys will be hearing us this time next week, because that is a massive episode. I'd like to thank all you guys for listening, supporting the show. Rate us, review us, as we say, subscribe, share, support. Thank you for listening.
Thanks everyone for listening again, and yeah, thanks for all the support. Love ya.